this podcast.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Anything Goes with me, Richard C.W. Mason. On today's show we're going to be talking school, and today I'm joined by Rita.
Welcome Rita, how are you?
Hi Richard, I'm good.
Well, we're back with the first episode of Series 2, and Rita joined me for the first episode of Series 1.
I did.
And today we're talking school life. Yeah.
School life seems many years ago, Richard.
What, how many? You don't have to say exactly. I think it's 28 years since I left secondary school. No, it's 29.
It must be 40 years since I left school then.
28. No, it's 29. It's 30 next year. Oh my God.
Yes, oh my God.
Where the hell did that go?
Don't know, but I think we all remember our school days along the line somewhere.
Primary school. What was
Primary
yours?
school.
Primary school like?
Well, for me...
It obviously a bit stricter in your day.
Oh, cheers. I'm not much... Oh, well, I am actually, so we'll not go there.
You know, with horses and carriages and things like that.
Yeah, well, for me, really... I started out at the convent in Lee at Gainsborough, and I do remember lots about the convent, but there's always something that baffles me because both my parents were Italian and my parents came over to live in England, so I know from listening to, you know, my parents and relatives and things, that it was a long time before I learnt English really, because my parents didn't speak a word of it.
Right.
But I don't remember learning English. I don't remember. I know certainly now if someone speaks Italian, my mind goes Italian. I suddenly kick in with answering, with speaking, you know, with replying. But at the age of 8, I went to Benjamin Adlard's school, which is in Gainsborough. But my days at the convent were nuns. I was taught by nuns, and it was very strict. And a lot of it is clouded by bad things, you know, things that were happening. I wasn't really happy there. But then it closed and I had to go to Benji's school.
I went to primary school in the 80s, and the primary school was next door to our house, so you had to be there, you know. There was no excuse really with living next door, and parents were friends with the teachers, and my mum was on the governors, so there was no, you had to go. I quite enjoyed primary school. I think everything seemed simpler back then, didn't it? You know.
Yeah, it seemed
no
simple.
one had a mobile phone.
No, that's it. But I do remember if you were taken ill in a daytime, you seemed to have to wait while it was going home. There were none of this. You ring your mum and dad like they do now. You know, when you got picked up, they wanted you out of school. You know, you were unwell, and you were unwell all day.
Yeah.
It was.
I remember
bizarre, really.
slitting my hand open on a metal grate. Dinner lady just stuck a plaster on it, and that was it.
Yeah,
it needed stitches, really.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Dinner lady just stuck a plaster on it. There you go, you'll be all right. But it was totally different back then, weren't it? It was better than now. Kids seem to have more respect back then as well.
Yeah,
Because I think when I started primary school, their punishment had stopped. You didn't get hit. I think when I was in the first year at primary school, somebody had just got the slipper. But I don't remember any more after that. It was an older lad who was always in trouble.
I know at secondary school, I remember Benji's, and my favourite teacher there was Mr. Owen. And I always seem to remember his name. And so he was, it seemed like, I don't know what, like nowadays, history class, there's this class, there's that.
Yeah,
It just seemed as if you just was in one classroom the whole time for all the lessons.
Well, we had 3 classrooms. There was like the infants, you know, and then the middle class, which was at the end, and then the class in the middle of the school was your last year at primary, and you sort of worked your way up. But I remember the first classroom had a big fireplace in the corner. It wasn't used, obviously, and there was like a playhouse in that corner.
Yeah.
And the fire, and it was always Free Choice Friday at primary school on a Friday afternoon. So if you'd done your work well all week, or made out that you had, you could have Free Choice Friday on a Friday afternoon.
Oh, right. Getting back to when you were saying about being punished in school, I can remember at secondary school, which was Middlefield Lane, Middy School, they were still doing the ruler and, you know, and that kind of thing. What else was it? I think it was the slipper as well. So that was early part of going to secondary school. So
yeah, they used to say slipper, cane.
Yeah, cane as well.
Board rubber chucked at your head. Or anywhere. Well,
I can remember my friend Liz. I met Liz at Benji's, and we ended up from Benji's being best friends until, bless her, she passed away at the age of 52. So we went from Benji's all through school and then through life. But I remember at Middy's, she had to go for the cane, or anyway, her skirt was pretty short, and when she bent over, apparently it showed all her knickers, and then he stopped, you know, the headmaster. But yeah, bizarre times, really, to what they are now.
Yeah, I never, apart from when in that first year, somebody got the slipper. But we used to have some nice trips out to like theatres and stuff. We'd always go see a pantomime, you know, near Christmas or just after Christmas in Nottingham. But I don't know if they do stuff like that now.
Yeah, they do now, but certainly my era then, we never did anything like that with school. You just went to school and that was it, Monday to Friday. There were no, I mean, they had things going off in the hall, but no, they didn't do what they do now, like go to pantos or go here, there and everywhere.
School dinners were different back then as well, weren't they? No, I only had school dinners once a year when it was around Christmas time, and used to have like the Christmas dinner. But I was been vegetarian since I was a kid anyway, so I always used to take packed lunch. Yeah. And there was a group of us used to sit in the big classroom and have packed lunch together.
We always had proper hot dinners. You know, every day we did. We didn't. It wasn't packed lunch type thing. Then it was.
Oh no, they did do school dinners in the main hall, but I never had them. Mum always used to just pack us up with packed lunch. Yeah. And I was a bit more. I don't know. I was just never into hot dinners.
Strange that you was veggie right from a young age as well.
Yeah, I think from about 8 or 9 I started to not like certain like meat dishes, and then by leaving primary school just didn't eat anything.
It's funny you should say that because we're diversing away from the school, but my youngest daughter at the age of 8 decided that she didn't want to eat meat anymore. Hers was purely because she didn't like the cruelty to the animals. But yeah, it's strange when you think a young child goes veggie so young. But
so I think looking back on school life, my probably favourite school life was like primary, because it seemed easier, didn't it? There was no pressure like there was at secondary school.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When you get to secondary school, I hated the first day at secondary school. Well, it weren't too bad. You're sort of wrapped in cotton wool a bit, aren't you? Yeah. Teachers look after you, and they assign you like an older pupil to look after you for the day, don't they? And then after that day or so, bang, you're on your own.
I tell you, I mean, obviously this didn't happen when I was at school, and possibly not when you were, but one of my, you know, my grandchild, he's gone up into like year 2, and sort of gone now are the days where they were playing all the time and this, that and the other. They now, once they're in classroom, if they speak, so there's like warnings, there's the red, amber and green. So you're only allowed to talk to the teacher and you're only allowed to answer the teacher. You are not allowed to talk amongst yourselves.
Right.
So obviously, you know, if you talk in class, you get amber and they move you away from that child you spoke to. So obviously each day can differ. You can be in red if you've done it too much. And that, I know they've got to prepare them ready for, you know, like, because obviously they're now on the proper learning, aren't they? You know, year 2. I mean, he's only 6, bless him. But he found it really hard to start with. And he often comes home and he's in amber because he just doesn't shut up talking. But that's a strange one, isn't it, for school? I don't remember anything like that.
Secondary school, there were some teachers who didn't like speaking, especially if they were speaking. Like, there was we had this awful maths teacher. I'll not say his name. I think he's recently passed away. And he used to still throw the board rubbers, and that was in the early 90s. Because I was sat next to a lad who was yap, 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 and I wasn't talking. He picked up the board rubber and it smacked him straight in the chest. I think it caught him at side of head as well. Anyway, he sat there rubbing his ear going, ow! And anyway, Kevin dragged him up and took him outside. He was quite hands-on, that teacher. You couldn't get away with that now, would you?
Well, no, there wouldn't be able to be like that.
That'd be about 91, 92, that.
That is weird, isn't it? Because...
But our headmaster, he was really strict, and everybody, if you saw him coming, you know, everybody was like, ooh, you know, behave. He used to wander the corridors at break times and just let you know he was there. It was okay, but you had a respect for him because he was the head teacher. And then the deputy head took over. He was quite a funny, friendly guy, and you never really took him as seriously as the original once he took over.
Because obviously back then, you know, well, they're all big schools when you get to secondary, but you know, it was there were quite a lot of teachers. There was a deputy head. There was the headmaster, and there was lots and lots of different teachers. And
well, I got to secondary school. I still had packed lunch, and you know, you're supposed to eat your packed lunch in this really smelly, dingy room near the canteen, just for packed lunch. And you're supposed to do that every dinner time. Do you know how many times I did that? Went to that room in my whole secondary school life? None. I used to just eat it in the classroom. It was you got into trouble if you were caught eating your dinner in the classroom. You were supposed to go and eat it in that dingy, horrible, smelly room. But I used to just eat it outside, sat near the pond, in a classroom. Yeah. But I never once had a school dinner in that dinner room. So secondary school, I thought, you find out kids are quite nasty at secondary school. They're quite bitchy at secondary school. Yeah. And I think it turns you just as bad, doesn't it, if you're around that. You got to... Oh, I think the worst thing I hated about the first year was cross-country running.
Yeah.
Oh my God, last lesson on a Monday, and you're there running through some woods.
Yeah.
Raining.
Yeah.
You've got to get a bus home half an hour from the school to where you live. And if you miss the bus, it's like ringing your mum up and stuff, innit?
Yeah.
And you running back to the bus in your bloody PE kit, and people looking out the window laughing at you. I hated that. That was the last thing on a Monday.
Yeah. I don't used to like.
But
I wasn't...
I hated PE for the first 3 years, and then I really got into it the last couple of years. And everyone used to skive out of PE, get their mum to write a note.
Yeah.
And everyone, you know, the last year of school, I did every PE class, and it was easier stuff though. It was like badminton, table tennis. You could choose what you wanted to do because you're more grown up. But I quite enjoyed it in the last year.
We used to do stuff like netball and hockey. They were the main We did do the cross country stuff, and like I wasn't very athletic that way. I couldn't really get on with it. Run a bit, walk, God knows how many. But I did used to be in the netball team and the hockey team.
I was never in any teams. I was in a music club and stuff, and I don't know, looking back, I think I should have took different subjects. I took art where I should have took music.
You see, I loved art, but I liked Mr. Bessie, the art teacher. He was my favourite, so I enjoyed art.
Yeah, I think teachers at secondary school, I think my English teacher was really good. She didn't even seem like a teacher. She was quite laid back with you. She'd be strict if she had to, but she was quite young. Like, I think when she became my teacher, I was about 13, 14, and she was probably only 30.
Yeah,
so she seemed really young.
Recently qualified, probably.
She seemed quite young and quite, not far off our age, and you just respected her a bit more for that. And she was always bringing in sweets and stuff to give out, and that if you were good. And she made the class fun. You'd watch a film.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think she was probably my favourite teacher, the English teacher. And then I think I took some classes because I thought the teacher was okay, you know what I mean? And I did like that subject a bit. But looking back, I wish I'd took music instead of art, because in art I used to just mess around. I used to not mess around, but I used to just start something and then scribble on it and scribble on other people's work and stuff.
We didn't have options. It was your normal maths, English, geography.
Yeah, we had to take
history,
them.
domestic science.
You could choose from it was the art. I think design and technology. You could choose.
No, see, there was no design and technology.
I don't remember doing that.
I
can't remember. I did. Yeah, I did. I think that was probably mandatory.
Yeah, no, there was none of that when. I think that there was woodwork and stuff for the boys, but it was like domestic science.
I quite enjoyed woodwork, and that it was called design technology at our school, I think. But it was like woodwork and making things and melting plastic and stuff into key rings and boxes and making a battery tester. I remember making a battery tester. I used to love making things and taking them out, and it didn't cost much to make either.
No.
You could make like a battery tester with some lights on the top, and it'd even give the battery, and it was like £1.20. That's going back to 1993 prices.
We had just one lad that joined us for cookery. It was funny because he was an Italian lad as well. Obviously our parents were friends as well, but he just seemed a real whiz kid at everything. He just seemed to get everything right. So there used to be a few of us that used to let him do the work, then we would copy. But he got fed up of this particular time, and he actually wrote things in that wouldn't go in a recipe, but we hadn't cottoned on. And then when he'd let us copy, then obviously he would
snake cyanide,
dog
food.
Yeah, you're not far wrong.
Oh God.
And then obviously once he'd let us. He'd then rub out, and put it right. And then, of course, when her name was Mrs. Howe, and she pulled us all up. There was about 4 of us, and obviously he was there. We never did it again.
A lad used to copy off me, and my handwriting was really bad, and I'd struggled with that when I was at school. And yeah, he used to sit copying off me, and I could see him looking at my work, and I'm like, how can you even see what it is? My writing was that bad. And I was like, if you want help, just ask for help, I'll help you, rather than you try and copy my bad writing.
Did he write like you wrote then?
Well, no, worse. But he was really good at sport.
Yeah.
And I thought he would have excelled in sport when he left school.
Yeah.
But he got in with the wrong crowd, and he's gone down a really bad route,
Oh dear.
So it's like funny. You said you kept in touch with some people from school.
Yeah.
I don't think I've really kept in touch with many. There's obviously Facebook. There's quite a few on there, and it's nice to see what they're doing now. And you get the odd birthday, you comment and you say hello and stuff. But I missed the school reunion. The school reunion was in 2003, and I'd only been left 8, 9 years. And I thought, it's too soon for a reunion, but I didn't know. They said they were going to shut the school and knock it down, and I thought it was just a rumour. I thought there'd be another reunion in,
Yeah.
But no, they had this reunion in 2003, and then not many years after, it closed and it was knocked down. And I wish, that was a regret, that I wish I went to that reunion. Because I felt
I
really...
never got to the one they did either. I don't know why I didn't.
I was in a sort of good, really good place, so doing music and stuff back then, and had a, okay job, and I thought it'd been nice to go back. But I didn't. I wish I'd have gone. Supply teachers, did you have any supply teachers back then? Was that the sort of thing you'd have back then? We had a few. Some were quite strict. There was one, she was a biggish lady, and she used to wear a lot of makeup. I'll not say her name, but I quite liked her. She got a bit of stick because she used to smoke a lot. And some of the kids were like, "Miss, give us a fag, give us a fag." And they used to go like near her handbag, and she was like, "Get out of my handbag," But she was so laid back and she was so funny. She couldn't really get mad with you. She tried to, and then people would just burst out laughing. But I felt sorry for her because she couldn't seem to, hold court really.
Well, no, I can't remember supply teachers, to be honest.
I was bad at, what do you call it when you're using sewing machines and that?
Oh, yeah.
Home economics sort of thing. I jammed a sewing machine. I thought the more you revved it and sort of pushed at the material, it would help it. The teacher walks up, and me and this other lad sharing this machine trying to sew this cushion cover or something, and it's jammed, and she's like, "What the heck is going on here?" I says, "Well, Frankie's jammed it, And he says, "No, I haven't, you did it." She says, "I just kept hearing all this revving." She says, "Oh." Anyway, she sat there and she was about half an hour scratching her head and unpicking and unjamming this machine.
Yeah, it's something I would have liked to have done. I didn't. I think I chose the cookery one.
Cooking?
Textiles. I don't know, what was it? I can't remember what it was called back then.
Accidentally good at cooking, and I think I still am. In the cooking class, I would just chuck everything in the pan, or chuck the mix and then put the buns in the oven. They'd come out looking fantastic, and they'd be like, "Oh, top marks," and I was like, I couldn't be bothered and just chucked it in, but used to get, top marks.
Yeah,
Funny.
Strange, isn't it? It all seems so long ago. I suppose it is, but
do you know? I think if I went into it deep, I think I could do a podcast on primary school that lasted like 2 hours, and I could do one on secondary school that lasted about 5 hours. But I think it's just nice to skirt over bits and bobs.
Just it's a bit of reminiscing, isn't it?
It was totally different.
Stuff you forget over the years.
I felt totally different about secondary school in the last year or so. I think people were more grown up. The kids that were in your class that used to mess about when you were in the first, second year had grown up.
Yeah. And
they weren't as irritating. There was a couple that, there's bad seeds in every class, isn't there?
Yeah.
There was a couple of bad seeds those were bad all the way through school. But I think by the 5th year, everyone had sort of grown up a bit, and you had a bit of respect for people and the teachers by the last year.
Yeah, yeah.
To be honest, I think some of the bad seeds had been expelled by the last year.
Yeah, I mean, there was all that kind of stuff going on. There was lads. It seemed to be mainly lads, that got expelled.
We had an old hall as well, like an old, I think it was like Tudors, that sort of look. And that got knocked down as well. I think that got knocked down before the actual school. It had something wrong with it, like, I don't know, some sort of rot or something. It's a shame. And now there's just a leisure centre there.
Oh, right.
Such a shame. And then a housing estate where the school used to be. Whole load of houses. I've never driven through.
Like I say, I started out at the convent, and when you drive by there, you can't help but think of those days. Because I remember, there used to be a few of us who were a bit like tomboys, and I think that's possibly why the nuns, teachers, were quite strict. We used to climb over the wall. It was almost like a secret garden. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was pretty, but we were not allowed to be over there, and we got found out and we got into trouble, and but yeah, it seemed like a different world because
we used to have. Did you have the big assemblies as well?
Yeah.
We had them. If somebody had done something wrong, and they needed to get the whole school together, the whole school used to cram into the one main hall. Sometimes you had an assembly. We didn't have them every week, or did we? I can't remember. You used to have an assembly and then sing a bit and listen to.
We had it every day.
We didn't have one every day.
And I remember, like, if people were late coming to school, the headmaster would make them stand at the front, you know, so that they were on show. And my friend Liz, bless her, I would always be talking, but when she was going to answer, she would always get caught for talking, and it was that I'd stop then. You see, she were answering me, so she often used to get pulled out to the front. That's what they did. They used to pull you out to the front and like have you on show.
I quite enjoyed the assemblies at primary school because there was better songs. You know, you had them blue books.
Yeah.
Come and Praise, wasn't it? Yeah, Come and Praise, and then there was like an orange book as well. And I used to enjoy the singing. And I remember once the headmaster, we all sat back in our chairs after the assembly, back in the classroom, and he came up to me at my table and he said, "Well done, Richard, you know, with your singing." He says, "Everybody else wants to take note and sing a bit louder like Richard does."
Want to see what you're doing today? You singing?
Right, so yeah, I think we've covered a lot with primary and secondary. Yeah. We used to have this teacher, she couldn't play piano for toffee, and she would do assembly and she would like tapping away on she was like Les Dawson really, you know, playing a few notes, missing a few notes, but she thought she sounded wonderful.
Yeah.
We used to call her Fish Face because I don't know why, but she's called Fish Face. She was quite strict. She weren't a proper teacher. Well, she was a proper teacher, not just from random off the street, but she was like some teacher who just came in once or twice a week to take extra class, you know, to help out other teachers and play the piano badly.
God.
But you'd be singing along and then she'd be going wrong because you was having the assembly. Anything else you want to add before we finish this episode?
No, I don't think so.
That is our time at school. Now, my time at school was from 1980. When did I start school? About 1984. Yeah, about 1983, 84, up until 94. Yeah, are you at school 10 years? 10 years of your life? Something like that, isn't it?
So I think I was...
When did you start primary?
I don't know, I'm thinking 1961 or something.
1961, God. Long before I was thought of.
Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah,
the good old days.
And then Lee, if Lee hadn't have shut down, I think probably been at Lee until, I don't know, because they were all old, you know, we'd probably been at that school till we left school.
What would be interesting is to do a podcast with somebody from my school. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To see what memories they've got that would jog my memories. Like on Facebook, there's a group in memory of the school. And somebody posted a picture of the vending machine with the hot chocolate.
No.
It was okay. It was usually 9 times out of 10 it was good. But if you got it just as it had nearly run out of hot chocolate powder, it was like this pink, horrible liquid that tasted awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that covers our school life and as much as we could say probably on a podcast.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me on this podcast.
I enjoyed it, going down memory lane, Richard.
Rita was with me on the series 1. If you want to check out episode 1, we was talking about spirituality.
Yeah.
And she's going to join me for some more podcasts through this series. So please give us a follow and she'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye, Richard.